The Only One just continues to get better and better. I just finished episode 7 and 8, and I want to talk about this show because I genuinely need for it to have a season 2. So yeah, I'm going to talk about it again and just talk about how this show goes above and beyond in showing the most beautiful and evocative intimacy without actually having the characters be, intimate. It's just a masterclass in two really great actors bringing characters to life. Hi, I'm Monique. I am the host of Off by Purple Heart podcast, where I talk to you about K-dramas, C-dramas, BTS, and so much more. And the so much more is sometimes BLs. I don't highlight BLs as much as I highlight the other content, but when I come across a really special one, I have to talk about it. The Only One is definitely a special one. If you want like a little bit of a synopsis and briefer about the show, I did do a previous podcast about it and just my love of it. This podcast episode is going to be going into spoilers, going into episodes 7 and 8 if you are someone that's currently actively watching and you're up to date. And I wanted to talk about the show a little bit more. So storyline wise, we have Jiang Tian and Sheng Wang, and they've moved now in their dormitory of their school. And something that is so incredibly simple is so poignant in storyline wise. One of the earlier things that we see about Tian as a character is that he is very isolated and he is very independent, and because of his upbringing and the very turbulent relationship that he has with his father, that he was someone that would kind of self-retreat, and he was kind of always on the move, so he never really has one place to truly call his home. And then his mother now getting together with Wang's dad, and them kind of moving back into Wang's old home, and the two of them kind of having to basically work around one another and become this family unit, and then discovering that their feelings are not necessarily brotherly like. There is something much deeper. They're not even friends. There is just this really deep, beautiful soul connection between these two characters, and to see the symbolism of the suitcases being unpacked. So a lot of the earlier scenes in the show, when we take a glimpse into Tian's room in his home, his suitcase is always pretty much filled with his clothes and belongings because he never truly feels settled. And the actor, Benjamin, I believe is his name, he really plays this well. He says so much with his eyes, so much. And I think episode 8 is like the best one. And I love shows like this where every episode kind of builds on one another, and emotionally, it's just so good. We get to see him move into this dorm and finally see him actually unpack his suitcase. And can I tell you, like, the last remaining minutes of episode 8 are by far the favorite of mine of the entire series. To see him kind of stare up into the room and like, what am I doing? Why am I feeling all this emotion? Like, why is this hitting me so hard? And then for Wang to come in, move in, and kind of reassure him and say, well, you finally have a home, and that home is within Wang. Yes, they're moving to this dorm now so they can get a little bit of independence and to have a little bit more of their own stomping grounds versus having to kind of tiptoe around their parents as they kind of navigate their relationship. And even though I don't really think either parent are necessarily antagonists, and they're not necessarily bad people, but there has been some neglect on both sides of the parents, and because of the nature of their work and their traveling, that both of the boys, they definitely have to deal with sort of abandonment issues. And then there's Tian with his turbulent relationship with his father, and the fact that Wang is still grieving the death of his mother, and the fact that Tian's mom is trying so hard to not necessarily replace Wang's mom, but trying to bring little touches to remind him of what things were like with his mom, like certain recipes and moving back into his old home, things like that, and him having to wrestle with all of that. It's been really beautiful. But going back to episode 8, the intimacy in that scene was so incredibly powerful. You know, Tian taking this deep, long sigh in this breath, his eyes kind of starting to water, and he's like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And then Wang reassuring him that you're doing this because you now have a home. And that first hug, and then both crying, and then us getting the little epilogue that's no longer titled, you know, Tian's little moment, and just having the epilogue play out, where Wang kind of playfully jabs at him, like, how comes you're not crying? Like, I'm here, like, welling up here, and my heart's, like, kind of on the floor. Why aren't you crying? But knowing, the audience knowing that Tian was crying as well, he was just able to wipe his tears away a little bit faster. It's just so beautiful. Like, you don't understand how much I loved episode 8. Even episode 7 too. The cinematography of the show is gorgeous, but there's just something the way that scene was lit, you know, the beautiful blues and just the hyper focus on both actors' faces. And it's such a treat to be able to watch a show where both actors are equally matched in talent. Both these guys can act, and it's not just being able to cry and cue the both of them, but they do so much eye acting. There's such little micro movements in their faces that tell such a deeper story and how much they're affecting each other, and they don't even realize that they're falling in love, that they're these two strangers that are then having to move in together as they're, you know, approaching adulthood, having to start over in this new family, and then keeping up with their schools and their studies and wrestling with all these emotions that are built up and beside them, you know, the abandonment, the childhood wounds, and coming together and finding home in one another, finding that their two souls are twining together. And it just shows not even just the power of acting between these two guys, it also shows that you don't really need to see like over the top passionate kissing and just super provocative NC scenes to convey beautiful emotion and to convey love, and just how powerful casual intimacy can be. Just them hugging brought out so much emotion in me, and the fact that they went in for a second hug, episode 8, even in the lighter moments when they're in the pool and they were playing, and you get to see flashes of like Tian's dimples, and you know, they're wrestling in the pool together, and you just get to see that unbridled joy emanating out of the both of them when they keep a lot close to the vest. It's so rewarding to watch. I cannot express enough like how beautiful it is when you can get two actors who actually get it, and when you have writing that's beautiful and subtle and not beating you over the head, but it just conveys everything that you want it to. And also having beautiful direction and beautiful cinematography and great music choice. Like, The Only One is just really great. And as of late, I've seen a few other BLs that are really, really nice, and they're gorgeous too. And it's so funny that I was complaining hardcore about the quality of BLs in 2024 overall, which I think has been very poor, and then all of a sudden, like in a matter of like weeks going into fall, all of a sudden all these incredible shows are popping up and are doing wonderful things. But I actually really do think The Only One is like the dark horse to win one of the best of the year. Episode 8 basically validated everything I said in my previous podcast about how good this show is. And it's truly a masterclass in what you can do when you have two competent actors. It's such a visual treat. Like, they're both good looking guys. And I found out part of the reason why they're older playing high schoolers is because there is, I believe, a time jump in the novel that this show is based off of. And I know that we're headed for heartbreak. Like, I'm bracing myself for it, that this show is so beautiful and it's so delicate in how it portrays these emotions and how these two very insular, isolated characters are opening up to each other. And are finding so much solace in one another that I know the show is going to like rip our guts out coming forward. But I'm going to be here for it only because the acting I know is just going to be top tier. And that makes it so much more fun and enjoyable for me to watch. I'm just really having a great time with The Only One. And I encourage anyone that is listening or watching this video form of this podcast, if you have checked out The Only One, by all means, please talk about it in the comment section below. It's playing through a few platforms right now, but I just highly recommend, if you can get access to watching it, do so. If you have the legal means of watching it too, please do so, because I really want it to have a season 2, because the way things are, it's definitely going to end on a heartbreaking note. I can definitely feel it. And apparently the director and the writers behind this show saying that it cost a lot to have season 1 happen, and it's not really a for sure deal if season 2 is going to come about. And I would love for this show to get a second chance, because it is some good stuff. I commend them for the actors that they've brought on board. They do so much. Like I cannot stress enough how much I am enjoying this show. It's such a simple premise, and it's been done before, but they're doing it so well. And that goes to show, you can take old tropes, you can take cliches, you can make really simple stories, but when you have actors that not only are competent but excel at what they do, and they're visually appealing to look at, and they have incredible chemistry, and then you also put in the money towards having a gorgeous cinematography and lighting and budget, and then great music choices, and you pace everything well, it just creates magic on the screen. And I'm just really looking forward to consuming more. So I'm gonna leave it at that for today's podcast. If you're watching the video version of it, as I said, please put your commentary down below. I really want to talk about this show because I love it so much, and I don't really have anyone to talk about it with. So I encourage, leave your commentary. If you're listening via Spotify or Apple Podcasts as well, I believe on those platforms you can enter feedback as well. Please talk about it, because I would love to talk to you about it. I love the show that damn much. Until the next one, bye.